afternoon. Welcome everybody to Bull City Hangout 1020. I'm Pat Murray. I publish the Durham Skywriter, that's Durham's online community paper. And with Bull City Hangout, basically, I just tell you what's happening today in Durham. And then I invite you to join me on camera. I have a guest already waiting in the wings. So let me get started with the show and start out, let's see, with the school tools page. Let's see. As always, I'd like to let you know that Durham Public Schools and also Durham County, they have free meals for young people ages 18 and under. They don't have to be DPS students. Just go to your nearest school that's on the list. It's kind of convoluted because some meals are distributed Monday through Friday, others Tuesdays and Thursdays only. So just go to the school tools page, read about that, and get free lunches for your young folks. All righty, I think there's a Family Academy session today. Let's see. Yes, DPS Family Academy is today. They have a workshop. Let's see which one it is today. Yes, curated digital resources. And this is for parents of students from K through 5 and also 6 through 12. Let's see. So today from 6 until 7 in English, and then 7:15 to 8:15 in Spanish. And you can learn about the online tools, including School Messenger, Canvas, Class Dojo, Seesaw. I'm unfamiliar with all of these, but you can learn all about that today. And again, you can also learn about Google Translate and find out how students are, the apps that students are using for math, English language arts, etc., etc. Pretty extensive. Again, 6 until 7 today in English, 7:15 to 8:15 in Spanish. All right, now let's go to the word page and just read just a couple of items from the word page, and that's the nonprofit and government information page. So as always, I like to start out by saying that the city has a water hardship fund to help you if you've fallen behind. Also, DSS, social services, they have an emergency fund to help with your rent or mortgage payments if your job has been adversely affected by COVID-19. So let's also go to Sister Cities. The Festival of Nations is ongoing. Okay, it's going on right now. It is on demand and online. Really cool live performances, well, live and recorded performances by our 9 sister cities and also us, Durham, of course, we're participating as well. Check that out, super fun and ongoing through November. Okay, now let's go to the health page. It's called To Your Health. And that's not, there's a lot more. I do invite you to go to durhamskywriter.com. There's a lot that I didn't tell you that's right there in the publication. Okay, now you might want to know if you've been exposed to someone who has been tested positive for COVID-19. So the NC Department of Health and Human Services wants you to know about this app that you can download. It's called Slow COVID NC. Very important. So check that out on the health page. Okay, and as always, I'd like to tell you that there's places to go for COVID-19 tests, and they are listed on the health page. And let's click on the health events button. I have reactivated the big blue health events button that tells you about the local support group. So let's scroll down to 1020 and see what's going on. Now, let's see. Let me see. Yes. That just happened. Okay. Now tomorrow morning, the Durham County Department of Public Health, they're holding a webinar. It's called Health Literacy 101, and that will be from 9 until 9:30. That's where you can get tips on how to share health-related information and to make sure that your points are understood. So this is for people who apparently will be putting on health events and who want to, get more up to date on health terminology. Let's see. Also tomorrow, Public Health, they're putting on a webinar called 6 Tips to Prevent Colds and the Flu. How about that? I need to close very quickly. Let me close my mail app because it's dinging. Let me see if I can close that real quick. That should do it. All righty. So let's see, where was I? Yes. 6 tips to prevent colds and the flu. That's tomorrow from 10 until 10:30. Also tomorrow, the Daughters Concerned for Aging Relatives Support Group, they'll be meeting from noon until 1:15. You don't have to literally be a daughter, but this is for people who are caring for elderly people who have Alzheimer's or dementia. And that's, again, from noon until 1:15. And I think that's it. Just let you know, you might as well register for this. The Durham Center for Senior Life, they're hosting the Survivor Speaks Breast Cancer Forum. If you want to learn more about that, that will be held tomorrow at 1. So you might as well register for that today. All right. And that's going to be free, of course, and from 1 until 2:30 tomorrow. All righty. Now let's go to the legal page. I think I have one thing to announce, just that early voting is on right now. And I have a schedule and a list of locations right there on the legal page. You can click and isolate that and then choose the one that you want to vote at. And Guy, our cook, is here. Hello, Guy. Guy, just to let you know, I do have a scheduled guest, but please stay with us. Don't go anywhere. Okay. So let's see. Let's go is the calendar of events page. And let's see what's going on today there. Okay, right now as we speak, the Nehemiah Christian Center is giving away free lunches until 1. They do this on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. And they are on Mangum, which is downtown, just north of downtown. Also, New Visions of Africa restaurant right next door to W.D. Hill on Fayetteville Street. They will be having their grocery giveaway. So try to get there at 12:30 because the giveaway starts at 1. Okay, and wear your mask because there's going to be a lot of people there. There are a lot of people in need. Also this afternoon, Durham County Sheriff's Office, they will be holding their rabies vaccination clinic, and that's from 2 until 3:30. And let's see, you do have to call for that, so read about that on the Let's Go page. Also today, the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences, they'll have their virtual trivia Tuesday. That's going to be from 6 until 7. That should be really, really fun. It's free, of course. Check that out on the Let's Go page. Also, Marvis Fun, beginner's line dance class from 7 until 8. That's always fun as well. Wear your comfy shoes. And I think that's pretty much it. Tomorrow, of course, like I just announced, Nehemiah will be giving away free bag lunches at noon. Okay, 72 and sunny. 79, partly sunny later. And then tomorrow going all the way up to 79 and partly sunny. Yes. So we have a very special guest, Sabrina Bristow-Wiggins. She is with the with DSS, the Durham County Department of Social Services. And let's bring her on because she wants to tell us just a few things that we should know. Hello, Miss Bristow-Wiggins. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing, Miss Murray? Thank you for having me on.
Very happy to have you. So you're with DSS?
I am. I'm a social worker with the Department of Social Services. I was actually hired as part of a federal grant that DSS was lead partner in to provide services to families that are experiencing domestic violence. And the grant has ended, but over the course of the last 4 years, we've been able to do a lot of work in the community with different agencies that serve families that are experiencing domestic violence.
Good. Actually, let's just be really basic, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Those of us who fortunately are not suffering from domestic violence don't realize what domestic violence sometimes entails. It's not always being beat up and thrown against the wall. Can you actually describe domestic violence?
Well, the legal definition is a little convoluted. Basically, it can be physical, mental, emotional, financial abuse of an intimate partner or a member of your immediate family. The term domestic violence and intimate partner violence are sometimes used interchangeably. Most times they're talking about an intimate relationship between partners, but the domestic relationship can be a child and parent. It can be roommates under the law. Someone who shares a household or a family relationship.
Okay, and then there's a special category of elder abuse, right?
Yes, elder abuse can fall under that category. Most of the time, the elderly person that's being abused is being abused by a family member or a caretaker.
Oh, so so even if the caretaker doesn't technically live there, that can still fall under domestic violence?
It
That might
can.
be kind of iffy.
Yeah, that's kind of a stretch, but most
Yeah.
abuse is conducted by a family member or someone that has a close relationship to that person.
Okay, so when does the DSS jump in? How does this work? Does it start with a phone call, or can you call on if you know that your neighbor or a loved one is being abused?
For DSS's purposes, it can either be an elder person, a disabled person, or a child that's in a home where there's domestic violence that's being experienced. Most times that's how the Department of Social Services gets involved. If it's an adult person that's not a senior citizen or disabled, then you would just call the police, or you would call a domestic violence hotline.
Okay, so is it best to call the police first so you can have something on record? I'm not sure how this works.
I wouldn't say it's best to call the police. It kind of depends on the situation. Sometimes calling the police can make things worse for the person that's being abused, because if they're in that situation and they haven't made arrangements for a safe way to leave, or they haven't figured out how they're going to be safe, then calling the police and having them show up and either arrest an abusive person or show up and take a report could make things worse after the police leave, because they still have to live with that person.
So am I wrong in, I don't know if this is North Carolina. I thought that I heard that if the police come to your house, they have to leave with someone. Someone has to be arrested. Is that true? I know these are tough questions.
So I don't want to speak on that.
I understand.
That's the intent, but it doesn't always happen.
Okay.
I think the officer has to have some reasonable belief that a crime actually occurred in order to make an arrest. But it does leave a lot of discretion for the police or the sheriff that shows up on the scene. So I'll just leave it at that. I don't want to overstep my area. And that's
I'm just trying to figure this out. So when a person does try to get help from the county, from DSS, Department of Social Services, how can I put this? What can they ask for? Do they know what to ask for? And I know you just told us about some of what you offer.
If they're coming in as a Department of Social Services, for my particular section, which is child welfare, someone has made a call about a child they feel is in danger of abuse or neglect. And an investigator would go out and respond to the call after a decision is made. Is there enough here to validate this report or not? Then an investigator would go out and follow up on the report. And based on their findings, then Department of Social Services could recommend that the family undergo some type of counseling or get connected with other community resources. If there's not a finding that there has actually been abuse or neglect, then nothing would happen. I mean, they wouldn't be obligated to follow through with anything.
So they don't automatically remove the child?
No, that's not automatic. That's a misapprehension that a lot of people have about social services. Everybody thinks that we're just out there to take the children away. That is not our intent. Our intent is actually to try to keep the family as intact as possible and in a safe manner. Removal is always like a last resort.
I had to ask, but I also am aware that I was actually told that by someone from DSS, what you just said, that the goal is to keep or put the family together by offering resources to the parent so that they can learn whatever it is they need to learn to be a better parent. So
that's true. Yes, that is the goal: family stability and family unity in a safe manner, so that the children are protected and they're not subject to being removed from their home, and so that the parents can learn how to modify their behavior and have a better, more stable relationship with their children. And sometimes we recommend services for the children as well, depending on how serious the abuse or neglect may have been, they might be in need of counseling or other services as well.
Okay. Is there a usual timetable? I know sometimes there are actual emergencies where DSS has to step in, but sometimes things are ongoing and it's ongoing abuse and it's almost like normalized.
For a case that's coming in under investigations, depending on what the allegations are, the social worker doing the investigation can have between 30 to 45 days to complete the investigation and make a recommendation of whether the family's in need of further services or whether to close the case out. If they close the case out without that recommendation, then that would be the end of it. If they decided the family is in need of further services, then it would be transferred to in-home and prevention, and that social worker could work with the family for up to a year.
Oh, okay. The same social worker? So they
a different social worker, it's a different section.
Oh, okay. So these records, the report, are they considered public information? Maybe not public, but what I mean is, like if the grandmother is concerned or the aunt, the child has visited and the child is bruised or something, can they ask DSS for copy of the report or to ask whether there has been an investigation?
They can make a report if they have concerns about the child's safety. The family is, of course, their confidentiality is paramount, and so those are not records that we readily share with just anyone.
So if another family member is concerned, their information will be added to the report, but they will not have access to the original report.
That's correct.
Interesting. Okay. So this is really good information. I also would like to ask you, I don't know if this is in your area, but what do they call those? When the spouse wants to keep the other spouse away from the household, what is that called? They go to court.
It could be an order of protection. Is that what you're referring to?
That's not exactly the phrase. I can't think of it right now, but it's like they're told to keep a certain distance.
That would be the
person. Is that it? Okay.
A restraining order or protection order.
That's it. Restraining order. Is that done through the police or DSS?
That is done through the court. They would have to make an application to a judge to get a restraining order.
So that's a whole separate thing.
That's a whole separate thing. And that's one of the services that some of the agencies that we have been partnering with provide is the help that person file for the order, go before a judge and actually present evidence. And then it would be up to the court to decide whether there's enough there to issue the restraining order.
Okay. So how is Durham County doing in this regard? I'm just very curious in terms of, I don't want you to have to tell us how many people you serve, but how many people are in your department that are available to help families?
I would say child welfare is the largest section within the Department of Social Services. And our number,
sad.
Yeah, it is.
In a way,
but it's unfortunate, it's a necessity. And our numbers fluctuate, of course. Unfortunately, there is turnover because it can be very stressful. There are probably more social workers within the investigation and assessment section than any of the others. But then we have our in-home prevention unit, and then we have what they call a permanency planning unit, which works with families where the children have been removed from the home and they're trying to make the determination to return them to the parent or put the children up for adoption.
Oh, wow. Wow. So that does happen too, where
it does, unfortunately. Sometimes the parent is not able to do what's necessary to get the child back.
Okay. Now I have talked with people, they weren't willing to be interviewed for articles, but I have met parents who have lost their children, did what they had to do to get them back. And then one family in particular got a habitat home. And hopefully life was, forever a dream after that. But yeah, I mean, there's good news stories as well. We do hear, of course, in the news about families that, unfortunately, the children or even the parents meet unfortunate ends. But getting involved with DSS is not always a tragedy. I know that from talking to people. So
I don't think anybody wants to have a social worker show up at their door and
I
say,
know.
I'm here to talk with your family. That is not
Mhm.
one of the fun experiences in life. But
Right.
I do think that it can be helpful sometimes in causing parents that have issues to face those issues and work on them, so that they are able to maintain their children and straighten out their own personal issues.
Yeah, like I said, if they are willing to put in the work, things can turn out really beautifully.
Yeah.
So yeah. So tell us a little bit more about what you do as a social worker.
Well, as I said, I was hired with Durham Department of Social Services about 3.5 years ago. 4 years ago, they wrote this grant as a lead partner with several of our local organizations here in Durham to provide connection with domestic violence resources in the area and to do training for the staff, for first responder staff, about how domestic violence impacts families and how they can better serve those families in the community. So the grant was focused around teaching about the impact of ACEs, which is adverse childhood experiences, and domestic exposure to domestic violence is one of those. Whether a family member is has a mental health disorder, a substance use disorder, alcohol use disorder, whether there's a caregiver who has been incarcerated and is away from the family, extreme poverty. There are like 10 to 12 ACEs that have negative impacts on children, and how if they're not addressed, they can have long-term negative effects into adulthood. And so the grant was focused more about addressing those adverse childhood experiences, teaching parents how that impacts their children, and then helping to connect the families with services that would help to correct some of those issues.
And thank you, Pam, for that, because Pam did set up the interview, and I'm because ACEs, I actually have heard that phrase.
Yes.
And
it's actually very widespread in the population. I think the last statistic that I saw was about 67% of the adult population has experienced at least one adverse childhood experience.
Wow.
And that's ages birth to age 17. And again, if those things are not addressed, they can lead to long-term issues as an adult. And so when you see 67% of the population has experienced at least one, that's a very valid concern in society. Yeah. And each adverse experience carries a score of 1. And so when you go above 4, then you're looking at serious long-term impact. Most people probably fall somewhere between 0 and 2. But when you go above, when you start getting 3, 4, 5, up to 10 or 12, then you're talking about extreme negative impact. And again, 67% of the population has experienced at least one in the years between birth and age 17.
Okay, now I don't know if Wanda Boone from Durham Tri is one of your resources, but she's the one who explained ACEs to me.
I don't believe I know Ms. Boone.
I've met her.
I'm familiar with her work.
I'll hook you up.
Met her.
She does great work. In fact, she just had a big program, I think last month. So basically, Durham Tri is together with resilient youth. And so, so I'll tell you about that later, but yeah.
But
excellent organization.
Yeah, getting back to my work within the agency. So part of my job was to work with the staff at DSS about what domestic violence actually looks like, the basic dynamics of domestic violence, and helping them understand why our clients may be resistant to talking with anybody about what's actually going on, because there's a lot of stigma attached to being a domestic violence survivor. People tend to blame the victim for what's happening. And because one of the main questions people always ask is, why doesn't she just leave, or why doesn't he just leave?
That's typical.
Yes, and it's not that simple. You can't just pick up and go, particularly if you have children. Again, one of the statistics is that it takes the average person about 7 times of trying to leave before they're able to leave that relationship permanently. Wow. Some people take less, some people take more. But if you look at someone who has become financially dependent on their abusive partner, or they're isolated from their other friends and family and don't have that support network, then you don't have the option of just picking up and leaving, because you have to be able to do it in a way that you're going to be safe and you're going to be able to maintain yourself when you're away from that partner.
And if you make those plans, you can't tell the kids because they might accidentally.
You can't tell anyone. And sometimes, people do domestic violence survivors an injustice when they say, "Why don't you just leave?" Because
they don't know.
I know I work every day, and I make a pretty good salary. I could not just pick up and leave my home and go somewhere and start over again, just on the spur of the moment. It takes planning, it takes finances, and everyone is not in a position to do that, at least not immediately.
Yeah, I had a former coworker who was able to escape by her husband had not allowed her to work and would allow her a few dollars to shop, and she would pinch off just a little bit of money every time, bought a used car, couldn't even drive. And one day while he was at work, she took the kids, she didn't tell the kids, she put them in the car with their stuff and took off. That's how they escaped.
And that's very real. That a lot of survivors do have to do that. Hopefully most people have the opportunity to work with a domestic violence advocate, do some safety planning, and to try to figure out a way to leave the safest way possible to minimize the risk to themselves or their children, because leaving an abusive relationship puts that person at higher risk than they were if they stayed. I think the statistics is like 6 times more likely that they would be killed when they're trying to leave the relationship than they are when they're actually in the relationship. And so that's a very real reason a lot of people stay, is because they have been threatened that they were going to be killed, or their children are going to be hurt, or someone they care about is going to be hurt.
Now, I'm from Chicago, and I used to live in what they call a sketchy neighborhood. It was my neighborhood and I loved it, but still, that is the major reason why anytime I wanted to take a picture of a child, I would ask permission, because it was explained to me that sometimes these kids they have escaped a bad situation and they don't want the other parent to find out where they are.
Right.
So, yeah. So now, have you noticed, or has it happened here in Durham, where COVID-19 and the stress of being home, sometimes without work, or being bumped down to part-time, has that added a lot to the stress of families here in Durham County?
It has. I can say from my personal work that my caseload and the caseload at DSS has gone up as a result of COVID and people being isolated. I think a lot of those underlying factors were already there for the abuse or that was going on. But COVID-19 has intensified it because people are not able to leave the house to go to work or go to school, or some of the other outworked outlets that they might normally have to be able to get away and alleviate some of the stress.
That's why every day I do mention the Water Hardship Fund and also the DSS Emergency Fund for rents and mortgages, mortgage payments, because I figure maybe one person might be watching the show for the first time, and that might help alleviate some of their stress if they know that there's help. And there's actually quite a bit of help out there. And I tell you about where to get all these free meals and whatnot. That doesn't solve all your problems, of course, but there's there's help out there, and I guess you just have to hopefully find it.
There are a lot of agencies in the community that do excellent work with helping domestic violence survivors and their families. And I actually have some of those resources that I want to share with our listeners. And you can tell me a convenient time when, if you want to do it. Oh, please
do. I have my pen ready.
Okay. Well, the local resource is the Durham Crisis Response Center. And they have a 24-hour hotline.
Okay.
And that number is 919-403-6562.
Okay.
And they provide a number of services for domestic violence survivors and their families. They provide support and advocacy if they are going to court for domestic violence related cases, whether it's a civil case or a criminal case. They will accompany that person to court. They will help them to file for a protection order if they decide that they need one. They also offer counseling for the survivor and their children. And they can help them with safety planning or emergency shelter if they absolutely have to leave that location where they're living and they can't stay.
That's comprehensive. That's great.
It is. They do an amazing job. They really do. And they have been our major partner over the course of the 4 years of our grant. We have been worked very closely with them. Then another agency that works primarily with teens and girls who are exposed to domestic violence and sexual assault is called Stand Up, Speak Out.
Okay, heard of them. Okay.
And they work with young girls, teens, and they also have a support group for women.
Okay.
And their number is 919-824 0494.
Okay.
And their founder, Monica Day, primarily got into this. She found art as a means of therapy. So her work is based around the arts, whether it's spoken word and poetry. They do a number of non-traditional therapy types when they're working with the girls. They do mentoring, and they also have a support group for adult women that they can call and share with someone else who may be going through a difficult time.
Awesome.
And then some of the services that we have that are for children, there's an organization called the Exchange Family Center.
Mm-hmm.
And they provide,
and that's one that used to be on Lawson. You said they just moved?
I believe, yeah, they're located off of Hillendale Road now.
Okay.
I believe they're on Crowsdale Park.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah.
But their number is 919-403 8249.
Okay.
And they work with families. Their focus is on the children, but they also work with the parents when the children have behavioral issues as a result of being exposed to traumatic things. So they do a number of different types of therapy, and all of their services are free. So all someone would have to do is call and say, you know, I'm concerned about my child, you know, I need some help. And they would do an interview with the parent and connect them with services.
Okay,
and I'm sorry.
By you pointing out that they're free, does that mean that the other two?
The others are
necessarily?
all free. Sorry, I should have said that.
Okay.
Durham Crisis Response and Stand Up, Speak Out are all free. They are all free.
Good. Okay, good. Okay.
Exchange Family Center, as I said, they offer these services, and they work with children from, I think, birth up to age 17 or 18. But they have a number of different types of therapies based on the child's age and developmental stage.
Okay.
And then the last one that we have been partnering with is the Center for Child and Family Health, which is part of Duke.
Oh, okay. That's on Chapel Hill.
It's on Chapel Hill Road, yeah. Or Chapel Hill Street, I should say.
Yeah.
Now, their services are not free, but they take insurance, and they do work with families. If they don't have insurance, they will try to work with them. They don't believe in turning someone away that's in need. And their number is 919-385-0701. And they are one of the premier family-oriented services in the country. They are nationally known for their services with trauma-informed care.
Wow. Okay. Thank you so much for these resources. I'm going to put that in the Durham Skywriter as well, and also in the comments below after the show ends. So yes, thank you so much. And of course, I invite you to join me at any time. And I also want to thank Pamela Renee Hall Purifoy, for setting this up. So yes, indeed. Was there anything else you wanted to tell us that we left out?
I just wanted to say, I don't know whether your listeners are aware that October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And so we use this opportunity, the month of October, to talk about domestic violence, to bring awareness to the greater community, to talk about the types of resources that are available in the community, and to encourage people to be supportive of domestic violence survivors. 1 in 3 women, 1 in 7 men, 1 in 15 children has been exposed to domestic violence at some point in their lives. And so it's much more widespread in the community than people are aware. You probably know someone who is a domestic violence survivor that is suffering in silence, and that you can help that person just by being a listening ear and offering what you can do. If you can't give them a safe place to stay, maybe you can give them some money to get away. If you can't give them money, maybe you can offer to babysit their children for a little bit to give them a respite so they can go to court and file a protection order or to testify in court. Everybody can do something. And so it's just a question of what is your something that you can do to be supportive of a survivor. You can contribute money to the agencies that we talked about, or to the North Carolina Coalition Against Domestic Violence, or the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence. They provide, well, the North Carolina Coalition provides statewide resources, technical support and resources to domestic violence service providers across the state of North Carolina. And the National Coalition also operates the National Domestic Violence Hotline. And I would like to give that number as well.
Oh, please do.
And that's 1-800-799-8233.
And this is the hotline to what now?
It is the National Domestic Violence Hotline.
Okay.
If you or someone that you know is in need of domestic violence assistance and don't know where to go in your area, you can call the National Hotline and talk to a counselor, and they can put you in touch with whatever the resources are in your area.
And it's 24/7.
That's 24/7, 365.
Nice. Okay, 365. I'm so glad you told us all this. And also, I was going to ask you, you already answered my question, what we should say instead of, why don't you just leave? So you can actually offer some help, offer them the resources, and that should help, because it's not easy, I'm sure, to get out of and if you have kids, I'm sure it's tough enough if you're just you and your mate.
Exactly, because if that person, you
involved,
share a child with that person, there's always going to be that tie. You're going to have to figure out how to co-parent in a safe way, unless the court, ends those parental rights. And so being able to, even though you might be able to end the relationship, you're not going to be able to sever that relationship with the child. And unfortunately, a lot of times abusive partners will use the child as a bargaining chip to get back to the victim. So.
I've heard of that. I've also, and that's when the child needs counseling too, because sometimes one parent tries to turn the child against the other.
It can be very traumatic for a child to be caught in the middle. Nobody, children love both their parents, and they don't understand what's happening. And, children being egocentric, they think everything is their fault. And so, a lot of times they internalize that. And we think that just because kids are very young, that they don't understand what's going on. Well, they might not necessarily have the words to express how they're feeling or what's happening, but they know what's going on. And the older that they get and the longer that it's internalized, the more long-term damage it can do. Children who grow up in homes where they witness violence are 3 times more likely to become either abusive or victims of abuse. If they're a male child, they stand a very high chance of becoming an abuser themselves. If they're a female child, they become much more likely to get involved in an abusive relationship, because this is what they see as normal. This is what they've seen modeled as a relationship.
Yeah, I'll tell you one heartbreaking story to end this. My mom worked at Parker in an extreme low-income community in Chicago on the South Side. My mom was a kindergarten teacher, and one of the kids asked her if her husband beat her. And mom's from Durham, okay? So not that Durham people are immune to domestic violence, but anyway, she was shocked and horrified. She was like, "No, of course not." And the kids were like, they thought she was kidding. They didn't believe her. Yeah. And mom said that just broke her heart.
Yeah. Can I just quickly say that domestic violence is an equal opportunity employment?
Oh, it is. I know.
So and I want to just clear that out for your listeners, because a lot of people believe that it only happens to certain categories of people. Yeah. Domestic violence does not discriminate. Any race, any sex, any gender orientation, any economic status can experience domestic violence.
Absolutely. Because mom did go to a school later. She transferred to a higher income, diverse school. And one of the worst cases that they ever saw was a high income, a white family, where the father was unbelievably abusive. So yeah, crosses all lines. But I was
Yes.
just pointing out, Mom, I just pointed that out because that's the situation she was in,
Yes, ma'am.
and how it really broke her heart. And actually, she became sort of like a counselor where the kids would talk to her if they needed to, and because not always kids don't always have access. They don't know who to turn to.
Exactly.
And if they turn to their teacher, that can be a good thing if the teacher has a good heart.
Yeah, and that's one of the great things about ACEs and resilience is we know that having at least one stable adult in a child's life can make all the difference. Even if they're experiencing multiple adverse childhood experiences, just having that one or two stable adults in their lives can make a big difference in how they process things.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much again, Sabrina Bristow Wiggins, for being on the show. And again, come back anytime you want. In fact, anyone from the city, county, whatever, anyone who has information to share like this, just really super useful information is greatly appreciated. And I do this on weekdays at noon and on Saturdays at 10. So just let me know. And
All
I
right.
want to thank Pam again for setting this up.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate your time, and thank you for your listeners.
Absolutely. You have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Awesome. Now let's see what's going on with Guy R. Cook from the Guy R. Cook Report. Guy, what's new? You are muted.
There.
And you're huge.
Well, yeah, I was watching you guys on camera, I said, gosh, maybe I could zoom my camera in.
I actually saw you playing with that, zooming around.
And I see now that I've kind of overdone myself. Anyway, that was very informative. A big part of Durham Skywriter's commitment to providing local information for the Bull City. It's going to work. That's
Thanks.
good.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It's needed. Because it's heartbreaking when you meet people who've been through a lot and don't know what to do about it. So yeah. So and plus
it's weird.
Plus, my dad was a social worker and my mom was a teacher. So
my wife was a
kind
social
of
worker.
Soft-hearted.
She's
awesome.
got, I think, 30 years being a social worker.
Okay. Awesome. I thought I was going to be a social worker too, but
the big joke at our house. I got to share this. So when they did fill out the forms for energy assistance, people that needed help with their power bill or whatever, they would always go to a public place that everybody in that little town knew where it was. It was always the bar.
The bar. Okay.
Yeah. So we'd be in some little backwater out of way off the highway, small little town. Oh, we did assessment there at that bar. I know that place. She's been to all of them. I swear to God.
Interesting. It would be in a bar.
Well, yeah. I thought that was kind of weird. I got to reduce this. No, I got to share my screen. I'm going to get out of here because you got stuff to do besides.
You said you're going to show us something? You said you're going to share your screen? What you got?
Here it comes. This is from Top Dog Social Media. And what they've got here, and I'll share the link to you so you can get that link.
Okay.
It's not sharing. What the heck? Oh, it's because I didn't pick that tab.
What you got?
I got the wrong browser. That's what it is. Well, anyway, I can tell you better than I can show you.
Okay.
It's social media tasks, and this big long link. Control-Alt, Control-C. I always try to remember to get on Chrome, but I forgot today. Okay, there's the big long URL.
Okay, I'll click on it and I will try to copy it. There it is. And then I'll put it in the chat. So what is this?
This is 25 social media tasks.
Oh,
Right. I even printed it out. There's 25 plus tasks in there for LinkedIn, for Twitter, for Facebook. Okay.
mm-hmm.
That give you a kind of a playbook, a plan. What am I going to do when I go to LinkedIn? What am I going to do when I go to Twitter?
Oh, cool.
So I went to Top Dog Social Media,
Mm-hmm.
and they're all about LinkedIn. The first thought that I had was, well, it's like I say with fishing.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to fish, go where the fish are biting.
Makes sense.
Yeah, don't be frustrating yourself. Don't use it as an excuse to get out of the house. Anyway, so take a look at that list of social media tasks.
Thank you.
When you get a minute to, I don't know, build a plan, build a playbook, create a list. Like, these are the ones I got to do. Like, I got to respond to people that contact me in Facebook or whatever.
Okay.
Then you've got sort of a sense of, well, what am I doing this morning while I'm waiting for it to get warm enough? Did you do the weather? I missed the weather for.
Oh yeah, it's going up. I shouldn't brag.
Go ahead.
But it's 72 now, going up to 79.
Okay. They're telling
I'm acting
us,
like I'm taking credit for it.
Right. It's got to be somebody's fault, so why not? Here in good old Walla Walla, Washington, it's going to be in the 20s, 20 on Saturday.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding. Look it up. 99362 is the postal code.
God.
And so I went yesterday and did all of the get ready for winter stuff, like take the hoses down and etc. So that's why I was curious what your weather's going to be.
Bless your heart. That's all I can say.
And the real sign that it's winter is in my closet that's here in the man cave is all my summer shirts, right? The t-shirts, summer shirts. So yesterday I took those all out to make room to put the flannels in. We're going to be totally grunge from this point in time till the weather gets warmer again.
So you're going to look like Nirvana, those guys with the plaid shirts.
Yeah. I've got the plaid shirts. I've got the sweatshirts like I'm wearing today because I got to go outside and finish taking the garden apart.
Wow.
So you have a good one.
Yeah, let me just remind you, I don't know if you use any Adobe products, but anybody out there who uses Adobe, there's a free, what's the word, like a conference thing with workshops going on today. And
collaboration tool.
Is it? Yeah, today and tomorrow.
Okay.
So it's by Adobe. So you can learn about InDesign and, all the different, I use InDesign, like.
Is it one of those AMA Ask Me Anything?
I think they're formal webinars.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So check it out. It's on Adobe. And I know that the session I wanted to attend starts at 1:30. I'll be attending 3 this afternoon.
Yeah.
So, yeah, good stuff. I don't have any links, but just Google it.
Well,
Adobe,
yeah.
Adobe Forum or whatever.
Did you hear the news about Google?
No.
Justice Department is going to make them famous, I guess is the best way to say it.
Is that good or bad?
Bad.
What do they do now?
Well, they're going to, I got to zoom out this camera just a second.
There you go.
There, now I'm immortal.
There you go.
Okay.
That was a big face there, but go ahead.
On ABC News, the headline said the Department of Justice is expected to announce its filing of a major antitrust lawsuit against Google, accusing the company of a host of anti-competitive practices. Practices.
Oh,
practices.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes I talk funny. Forgive me.
That's good.
A long time I've been hearing about how Google will take people that are buying ads and giving them preference in the search engine result pages.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I always skim down past the ads and go to the first organic link anyway. But Not
Same here,
everybody
actually.
does.
Yeah, same here. That's for sure.
So,
I like honest results.
and the last thing, and then I'll quit. And remember before when I said I'm going to do one thing? Well, I keep thinking of these things.
That's okay.
In my Facebook web developer page, I put up a link that's got the blah, blah, blah about if you use underscore blank in a link so that when they click on Durham Skywriter, it opens in a new tab in their browser.
Wait,
right?
say it again about the underscore?
The code is target equals underscore blank. And then that makes that href open in a new page. That's a no-no. Don't do that anymore because
I don't think
everybody knows about the back arrow. And if you're doing that, you're potentially giving the bad guys a chance to hack you. They can redirect that. So there you have it.
Interesting. Thank you. Okay. Excellent. Well, I can't. So what is it now? If it's going to be in the 20s on Saturday, what is it now? Like 50?
Let me ask Google. I could say those magic words, but I have an app. It is right now. Come on. When it's cold, it gets slower. 54 right now.
That's not too bad. So it's 75. So it's 75 now. Oh, they just changed it. It's going to be 81 tomorrow.
Oh,
Woo.
wow.
Yes.
They'd think that we'd fallen into the earth and went to the bad place if it was 81 here.
I don't know. Well, we're going to get a thunderstorm next Wednesday. So the coolest day is going to be next Thursday. Not this, but next Thursday at 66 degrees. I'll take it. That's not bad. But it's starting to get cool at night. It's like in the 50s and stuff at night.
Yeah.
Still, that's not too bad.
Okay. The weekend is shot. The high temperature for Friday, 45. The high temperature for Saturday is 40. For Sunday is 37. Friday and Saturday have got 80+% of
snow.
Well, it'll probably be rain.
Oh, sleet. Rain.
It'll probably be rain, snow mixed in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And then it'll melt off when the temperature gets up above the 32 level.
Yeah.
But you're still going to wear boots. You're still going to have snow shovels on the front porch. You're going to still fill up the de-icer jugs so you can sprinkle that.
Absolutely.
We have to use Pet Safe so that because I saw Chewy one time. He's going, "Oh, this tastes good." I said, "No, don't do that."
Yeah, some of those auto fluids smell and taste really sweet.
Oh yeah, antifreeze will kill a dog, and they think it's like Coca-Cola. Oh God, where did this come from? This tastes great. I read that once. Anyway, you have a great day. I'm going to get out of here.
You too. Take care. Thanks a lot, Guy.
Bye-bye.
So check out the Guy R Report. He didn't mention his podcast, but yeah, he's a super duper web developer. And as you probably know, if you watch this on a regular basis, that Guy R Cook always shares really great information with us. So anyway, I'm going to go get ready for this webinar. So you have a beautiful day. Send me information. Let me show you how. Let's see. What I'm going to do is to ask you to send information to Durham Skywriter. That's Durham's online community paper. Send it to, boom. Whoa, let me show you the white one. Wait a minute. Send it to durhamskywriter@gmail.com or on Messenger. Just find me on Facebook, follow the Durham Skywriter, and also share this out so that more people can find out what's happening today in Durham, and also that great information that was provided to us by Sabrina Bristow-Wiggins about DSS and domestic violence. It's very, very important. The information, the resources that she shared, top notch. So with that, have a beautiful day, and I will see you tomorrow at noon. Ciao for now.